This formerly Patreon-exclusive bonus minisode was originally released on April 4th, 2022. This podcast contains descriptions of violence against children and adult language and is not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Suffer the Little Children, the true crime podcast giving voices back to the victims of child abuse and shining a harsh spotlight on the parents, guardians, and caretakers who silence them. I'm your host, Lane, and this is Patreon-exclusive bonus minisode number 12, Ryan Buttery. I've been following baby Ryan's story for a couple of years now on the blog, and now that his mother has been sentenced, I thought it was time to devote at least a minisode to him as well. Sadly, there was not enough information to warrant a full podcast episode, and I didn't hear back from any of his family members. I'll jump right into the story. Stacey Nellie Othma Schuchart was born on December 18, 1989, to mother Terry Singleton. No father was listed on her birth certificate. Stacey's first child was born in 2006 when she was 16. I was unable to find out where all 6 of Stacey's surviving children are currently living and whether or not they're still in foster care. At least some of her oldest 4 children were fathered by a man named Charles Messer. Sean Ryan Buttery Sr. was born on June 13, 1987, to mother Teresa L. Campbell, who has since remarried a man named Lloyd Durham. Sean was apparently married before his relationship with Stacey. It seems he eloped with Dina Gabbard, his girlfriend since January of 2011, on March 23, 2015. By the end of that year, however, he met and impregnated Stacey Schuchart, who gave birth to the couple's first child in August of 2016. It's unclear when his relationship with Dina ended and his romance with Stacey began. Sean and Stacey ended up having 3 children together. Now we'll jump ahead in time. On Friday, August 16, 2019, the Bellevue Dayton Fire Department responded to a home in Dayton, Kentucky, after receiving a report of a child not breathing. The child in distress was Sean Ryan Buttery Jr., known as Ryan to those who loved him. Ryan was 2 days short of 18 months old, and he was just starting to master the art of walking, which he'd only started doing just a few months before. When medics arrived, Ryan was in full cardiac and respiratory arrest. While attempting life-saving measures, the medics noted what appeared to be prior contusions and lacerations on the baby's body. Ryan's mother, then 29-year-old Stacey Schuchart, told police that while she baked cinnamon rolls in the kitchen, her son fell, hit his head on the microwave, and fell to the ground, where he hit his head again. At the time of Ryan's injury, only he, his mother, and his 3-year-old sister were home. Several other children were at school, and Sean Buttery, Stacey's boyfriend and Ryan's father, was at work in Kenton County. At the time, Stacey was 9 months pregnant with her 7th child. The little girl would be Sean's 3rd child, all 3 of whom he shared with Stacey. On that day, none of Stacey's children were legally in her custody. Ryan had been taken from her at birth and placed with a foster family until just a few months prior, when a court order placed Ryan and 2 of his siblings temporarily with Stacey's sister. However, the children had been living illegally with their mother for about a month at the time of Ryan's injury. Detective Peter Shierlow was dispatched to the scene for a child endangerment call, but on his way, he received word that the call had been elevated as paramedics were performing CPR on the baby. When Detective Shierlow arrived at the Buttery Schuchart home, he witnessed Dayton's fire chief carrying baby Ryan to the ambulance. As the chief passed him, he said to the detective, "Something is suspicious." Ryan was rushed to Cincinnati Children's Hospital, where, a few hours later, he was pronounced dead. An autopsy was conducted, and the coroner's report contained a laundry list of injuries Ryan had suffered. The report read, "This child sustained 4 fractures to the pelvis, 2 to the front, 2 in the back. The child's bladder was detached from his skeletal system, internal bleeding." The coroner found several additional injuries, including more fractures and damage to the baby's head and skull. The coroner said Ryan's death was caused by homicidal violence, saying Ryan endured significant traumatic injury that was entirely inconsistent with hitting his forehead on the microwave. While there was a bruise on the child's head that could have been caused by the incident described, This minor injury played no role in the child's death. She added that Ryan's injuries were unlike anything she had ever seen due to a home accident, and that the baby had instead suffered the level of trauma that she would expect from a serious car accident. She believed Ryan's head injuries were caused by a series of forceful blows, and she said it appeared the baby was stomped on and that his arm was broken after being twisted or grabbed. The coroner also noted that Ryan had numerous other bruises, lacerations, and scabbed-over wounds that appeared to be in different stages of healing, meaning they had occurred prior to the fatal injuries, which, she said, could not have been caused by Ryan's 3-year-old sister. The other children were at school, and police had confirmed that Sean was at work at the time Ryan was injured. That left one suspect, Stacey Schuchart. Meanwhile, Ryan's family said their final goodbyes to him on Tuesday, August 27, 2019, at the Dobling-Muhlenkamp-Urschel Funeral Home in Newport, Kentucky. After several weeks of investigation, the Dayton police announced that Stacey, who gave birth to a daughter at the end of August of 2019, was being charged with first-degree manslaughter. Stacey was arrested on Friday, September 13, 2019, and booked into the Campbell County Detention Center, where she was held on a $1 million bond. A neighbor who did not wish to be identified told a reporter, "If she's guilty, they should throw away the key." The man spoke with Stacey at least twice after the baby's death, he said, adding that she seemed emotionless and nonchalant. She said her son had run into a microwave table and hit his head, and they didn't think it was that serious, but later his eyes were rolling in his head, so they called the life squad. I'm assuming the story she told me wasn't very accurate, or they wouldn't be charging her with that serious of a crime. Stacey's arraignment took place at the Campbell County Courthouse on Wednesday, September 18th. Stacey appeared before Newport District Court Judge Karen A. Thomas via video monitor from the jail. Judge Thomas told the defendant, "At this point, the court has reason to believe the incident likely to have occurred on the Friday the child died. I am going to enter a plea of not guilty for you and set the matter for a preliminary hearing." The judge also refused to reduce Stacey's $1 million bond, basing it on the magnitude of the crime, the injuries alleged, and the fact that she considered Stacey a flight risk, because Stacey's prior criminal record included charges of first-degree bail jumping, probation violation, and felony identity theft, among other things. When Stacey told the judge she could not afford an attorney, Judge Thomas appointed a public advocate, who asked if Stacey could be released with the signature of a parent, or perhaps with an ankle monitor. The judge's response was, "Absolutely not. I've made my ruling." The same week, Stacey was arraigned on her manslaughter charge. Sean Buttery's mother, Teresa Durham, spoke with the press about the loss of her grandson and how it was affecting her son. Teresa said, "He's lost. My son is lost, and it breaks my heart. I couldn't even think about hurting my children. What parent could?" Teresa said she will never forget seeing Ryan's lifeless body, but she clung to the memory of his smiling face instead. According to Teresa, both Stacey and Sean had struggled with drug addiction in the past, but had been trying to regain custody of their children. In fact, Ryan, she said, was only removed from his foster family and placed in Stacey and Sean's home on Thursday, August 15th, the day before he died. Other sources, including later the prosecution team, said the couple's 3 children were illegally staying with Stacey and Sean for a month prior to Ryan's death. Teresa said of the day of the incident, "The day before, they got him. The next day, that baby's dead. I don't want his death to be in vain. I want something to come out of it. Change, so these children quit falling through the cracks." The couple's 2 daughters, then 3-year-old R and 1-month-old A, were in foster care, Teresa said, but Sean had regular visitation with his girls. On Thursday, September 26, 2019, Campbell County Commonwealth's attorney, Michelle Snodgrass, questioned Detective Schierlow in court regarding the investigation into Ryan's death. The detective cited the coroner's report, which listed injuries including multiple traumas to the head, which would have had significant immediate neurological impairment, a forearm fracture, at least 4 pelvic fractures consistent with someone stomping the child, a tear from Ryan's lip measuring 3/4 inches by 3/4 inches, a displaced bladder, and bruising all over. Detective Schierlow said that Stacey did not have custody of Ryan when he was fatally injured. He said the baby was supposed to be with her sister, but that several of Stacey's children were sent to her home throughout the week so they could attend school in Dayton. The sister was responsible for keeping these children safe, but she apparently saw fit to allow their mother to care for them throughout the week, unsupervised, even though CPS and at least one judge clearly disagreed. The judge ruled that there was enough evidence to have Stacey's case transferred to a grand jury. On the manslaughter charge, Stacey faced 10 to 20 years in prison, but things would only get worse for her from there. On November 14, 2019, the grand jury dismissed Stacey's manslaughter charge and instead handed down an indictment of wanton murder, which, if Stacey was convicted, could earn her 20 to 50 years in prison. To this charge, Stacey also pleaded not guilty. The case seemed poised to go to trial until finally, on March 1, 2022, 32-year-old Stacey Schuchart entered a guilty plea to her murder charge. At her sentencing hearing in Campbell County Court on Tuesday, March 29, 2022, Stacey sat quietly and did not address the court. Stacey's attorney told the court that Stacey understood how wrong her actions were. A lot of remorse, and this is something she will be dealing with the rest of her life. Her criminal history doesn't reflect a history of violence. Ryan's father, Sean, tearfully told Stacey at the sentencing hearing, "You don't know what you've done to me. I'm barely hanging on. My boy did not deserve what you did to him, but you have not shown any remorse to me or these kids." Judge Julie Ward sentenced Stacey to 35 years in prison. By Kentucky law, she must serve a minimum of 20 years before she is eligible for parole. Chief Assistant Commonwealth Attorney Mike Zimmerman told the Law and Crime Network in a phone interview, "I can tell you that, in terms of the case itself, this was just a horrifying case. This was an incredibly difficult case, one of the more horrific murders that I've seen in my time as a prosecutor. Any time you deal with the murder of a child, particularly at the hands of the child's biological mother, it's tough. It just really lent us to the conclusion that Stacey Schuchart had to go away for a long time." The prosecution team felt it was important to prevent Stacey from having access to her surviving children. That was part of our thought process in entering into an agreement for a 35-year sentence. Obviously, serving 35 years would put her well into her older years as it relates to her ability to be in their lives. Now we can be sure that these children will grow up to reach the age of majority without her in their lives. Commonwealth Attorney Michelle Snodgrass told Law and Crime, "This is one that will stick with us for a long time." Saying part of the motivation to reach a plea deal was to save Ryan's relatives the pain and horror of a trial, she added, "Fortunately for the child's father, Stacey was willing to plead guilty and accept responsibility for her actions. That saves him and the family from having to go through a trial and the appeals process and everything else that process entails. Although it will take them a long time to get over Sean's death, at least the healing process has started." There's not much information available about baby Ryan, so here's what I was able to find out. Sean Ryan Buttery Jr. was born on February 18, 2018 at 1:30 p.m. He was 21 days overdue, so by the time he was born, he weighed 8 pounds, 9 ounces. He was so big, he actually got stuck in the birth canal. Medical staff had to push down on Stacey's stomach and pull hard on the baby to help him emerge. Because of the difficulties during birth, Ryan's entire face and head were bruised, and he suffered a broken clavicle. Ryan was removed from his parents' custody immediately, and once he was ready to leave the hospital a couple weeks after he was born, he was placed into the care of a foster family, who was reportedly willing to adopt him. As I mentioned, Ryan had just started walking a few months before he died. The following audio is from a Facebook video clip of Ryan taking a few steps during one of his parents' supervised visitation sessions.
Thank you. Yeah. You big boy. Oh, you missed it.
Okay.
Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Thank you. You're doing good. You're almost there. Oh, you
Ryan.
made it. Yeah.
Ryan.
You're doing good, Bobby.
Come here, Ryan.
Come on. You're doing good.
Come here. Oh. Lazy.
Rest in peace, baby Ryan. You will not be forgotten. My sources for this minisode were Wave 3 News, WLWT5, Facebook, The Cincinnati Enquirer, Fox 19 Now, The Northern Kentucky Tribune, 9 ABC Cincinnati, The River City News, Fort Thomas Matters, Law and Crime, and the Dobling Muhlenkamp Urschel Funeral Home website. That's it for this Patreon-exclusive bonus minisode. Join me next time for another story. If you like the show, please follow or subscribe to Suffer the Little Children on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Spreaker, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast listening app. And please leave me a 5-star rating and a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. Visit the website at sufferthelittlechildrenpod.com. You can support the show by visiting patreon.com/stlcpod, where you can become a patron for rewards ranging from a shout-out by name on the show to exclusive gifts. You can also support the show at ko-fi.com/stlcpod. Follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Suffer the Little Children Pod and on TikTok at STLCpod. View photos related to today's episode on Facebook. This podcast is researched, written, hosted, edited, and produced by Lane. Intro theme music is by Dream Note Music, and all music for the show is licensed from audiojungle.net. For more information about preventing or reporting child abuse, visit childhelp.org or call your area's child abuse hotline. And remember, if you see something, say something.